Adam unleashed his spell, one after another, on the bandits. Fire, ice, and lightning, their screams were music to his ears. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Today, I want to look into our modern mythology, and what each type of offensive magic would really do to you. So let's get a little morbid. Sorry if these pictures gross you out. First up is the classic, fire. I'm sure everyone here has burned their hand before, and I'm betting it would hurt. It has been used in wars constantly. The trope of boiling oil being poured on attackers, but boiling water is just as damaging. But flaming arrows were also used. So, of course, it would be used in a fancy world as a weapon. So what sort of damage would a fire-based spell inflict? Well, burns can be divided into 4 categories. A first-degree burn, the damage is just to the outermost layer of the epidermis. A second-degree burn goes a bit deeper, but the damage barely reaches the dermis layer, and you'll get some blistering. Third degree goes deep into the dermis, and the skin gets blackened. This will require medical attention, and our goal for fire spells. A 4th degree burn reaches the underlying muscle and bones. Now, there are a couple of factors which will determine what degree of burn you will get. Temperature and duration. A low temperature can only cause so much damage, but will do more if a longer exposure. But a very high temperature will inflict the burn faster. This is the basic concept of heat transfer. The higher the difference in the temperature, the faster the heat is transferred. And this is the first major issue with fire attacks. They have a time component. So, if we break it down into video game mechanics, fire spells should be a damage over time with increasing damage with stacks. But there is a psychology in the attack. You will panic while you are burning. Fear is a powerful factor to bring into a fight. So add in a chance to fear a foe and get them running away rather than fight back. That sounds good. Oh, but there should be a chance for the fire to spread to other foes. And that brings up an issue my friend Ethan has with fire. As he says, fire and zombies don't mix. The zombies won't panic and will just charge you and set you on fire. So not perfect. That is the issue. Fire could easily spread back to you and burn down the town or force you are defending. But even after the fire is extinguished, the damage isn't over. It will take time for the heat to dissipate from the burn. It's the same thing as taking meat off the grill and it continues to cook for a bit. What's worse is with the 3rd and 4th degree burns, nerve damage. Due to how nerves work, they can continue to send pain signals for a long time, further adding in some psychic damage. Overall, very nice. But healing is complicated when burns go past the skin. Muscles and bones tend to heal slower, but skin heals faster, and it spreads from the edges in. Due to this, skin has a tendency to heal over the damaged muscles and obstruct their healing. This does make healing much more difficult and could impact how you would use a healing spell. Now, you may need to cut away the dead tissue before you can heal it, depending on how healing spells work. If enchanted onto a weapon, there are issues. One of the quickest ways to die is to bleed out from blood loss, but fire will cauterize wounds. A frequent technique for crude amputations was to seal the wound with a heated shovel or other metal object. That is the problem with fire swords and arrows. They can cauterize the wound and limit blood loss. So personally, I'd put them as a downgrade. But if you are wearing metal, it will get seared to your skin, assuming that you don't have the proper layers in place. This will be incredibly painful, and might force your foe to strip quickly or burn alive. Potentially, it is weak to water and cold spells. I'll get to those in a bit. But first, let's face the storm. Lightning operates very similar to fire, but it is much hotter and faster. But your nervous system works on electrical currents. So when struck by lightning, it will race along your nervous system and can cause paralysis. Electrical stimulation is used in athletic training and therapeutic recovery to encourage muscle contractions. So if struck by a lightning spell, it can cause your body to jerk suddenly, which is devastating in a fight. But the heart and lungs also operate off electricity, so they have a risk of being disrupted, and a foe whose heart isn't beating and isn't breathing usually is a corpse. And unlike fire, lightning enchantments are good. They will cause the muscle to contract when struck, causing their limb to move. Now, that would make it more like cutting something taut rather than loose, so it could make it easier, assuming that the muscle isn't strong enough to bind your sword. But arrows are good. Now, if struck against a metal armored foe, the lightning can spread through their armor and even down their weapon. You need insulation against lightning here. The damage will appear as a tree-like pattern that follows the nerves and can have long-lasting impacts. You can get some burn marks, but they are more common on the feet when the lightning is going to leave the body. So, with game terms, this is an attack with a chance to paralyze your foe. Simple, but powerful, wouldn't you agree? This is something which is unavoidable. Winter is coming, and you can feel it. A cool feeling on your skin. You start shivering. You go numb. Then the fluid in your flesh starts freezing. Frostbite. And again, we have the time issue. It takes time to feel the cold. Same issues as fire. Oh, and it even has degrees, just like fire. No, I mean they are the exact same as the burn degrees. Just blue for red discolorations. You could also create hypothermia. This is less damaging, but just as dangerous, as it can cause disorientation, decreased judgment, and more. A common trait for people with hypothermia is that they will start stripping. But one of their treatments is activity to warm you up, so harder to use as an attack, but could work as a subtle ambush trick. See some bandits and create a cold wind to chill them. That would give you an advantage. But cold attacks have an added factor, freezing. If your target is wet, it will freeze. And we all know what happens when you lick a frozen metal pole. Your tongue sticks, and you'll probably lose a bit of flesh. This could also speed up the frostbite. The freezing and creating ice is useful, as it can be used to immobilize foes, create walls of ice to force them into narrow areas. But that also adds a physical aspect to attacks. Ice is actually pretty heavy, so forming a club and swinging it will hurt, or a sharp spear or sword of ice. Yes, ice can be fragile, but if you can just make a new weapon, you don't lose much. So technically, we have two categories for ice magic, cold and ice. Just cold would be another damage over time with a chance to disorient your foes. Unless the cold is exceptionally cold, it is unlikely to do as much damage as fire. For the ice category, it would be either piercing or bludgeoning damage. It would also have crowd control spells, generally good utility. If stabbed by an ice attack, you will feel the cold much faster. As for protecting yourself, cold damage again can be protected against with proper layers of clothing under your armor. The ice will require the same armor for all other physical attacks. To heal it, it is complex. If the tissue dies, you may need to cut it away to allow healing. If not, slowly heating up the tissue is the best option. Now, outside of the big three, there are a couple of other elemental attacks. Wind being amongst them. Wind doesn't actually do much damage, but more utility in knocking your foe off their feet or sending an object flying into them. At which point, it is basically the same as throwing objects in melee attacks. But there is one very useful way for wind magic. Air flows from areas of high pressure to low pressure. If you place low pressure or vacuum right in front of a person's mouth, the air in their lungs will quickly leave, causing suffocation. Now, this can take time, but most people will panic if they can't suddenly breathe. Honestly, this is a nice trick for an assassin to use. It should be invisible. Honestly, outside of this one trick, it would require a lot of force to make wind magic a powerful offense. Now, both are damage over time in concept, but poison can add in extra effects depending on the type of toxin. Yet both can soak through armor and turn cloth armor against you. The problem is with their power. Acid's strength is based on pH and would also cause irritation, blistering, and skin breakdown, but could easily be treated with water and healing spells. The damage from acid looks similar to burns with blistering and reddened skin, and would require the same kind of healing as a burn. Necrotic means death of tissue, and the single most powerful thing to do to an enemy is to end them. And that is what this kind of damage is, though the concept is a little abstract. How would you describe a cloud of death? Poison? Blackness? The same could be said about shadow damage. They are concepts which wouldn't be weaponized unless magic is involved. The necrotic condition can be caused by cold and poison very easily in our world. Then last but not least comes the most mundane of them all. This is the kind of injury made by throwing rocks that people would cause. Generally, physical damage can be broken into 3 categories: blunt, slashing, and piercing damage. Blunt was the most common kind of injury to knights in armor. If you are struck with a 10-pound weight, all that force is being transferred into you. Your armor is meant to disperse it to points which can better take the weight. Generally, your hips was the prime location, but also onto your traps secondarily. In concept, it is the same as how a backpack is meant to be carried. Funny that ancient blacksmiths understood the principles of ergonomics. Blunt weapons leave bruising, with few cuts and contusions. The real prize is breaking bones. If you break a rib, it hurts to breathe, and you won't be able to keep fighting. But a broken rib runs the risk of puncturing the lungs. Bruising can also cause internal bleeding, if struck to a blood-heavy organ like the kidneys. Yes, I know that blood is supposed to be inside you, but when too much gets out of the arteries and veins, it becomes deadly. Healing is pretty basic, no special considerations. Blunt will handle armor the best, but death is going to take a while. Yet a blow to the head can have the greatest impact, causing the brain to bounce against the inside of the skull. This leads to brain bleeds and concussions. This can lead to the brain swelling against the skull, and if a piece of the skull is broken and pushing in, it can cut it. Often, our surgeons would remove a piece of the skull to alleviate pressure. Medieval ones even drilled holes. Damage to the brain has a wide range of effects. Slashing comes from blades sliding over tissue. It pushes the tissue apart and allows for blood loss. This adds psychological damage too. You will want to aim for an artery that will give you the most blood loss, which can lead to dizziness, fatigue, and fainting. You'll know when you hit an artery by seeing blood squirting, not running. Big pet peeve of mine in horror movies. Now, the hardest tissue to heal will come if there is no blood flow to it. And you can create that with a cross-shaped cut. That will make healing difficult. To properly heal it, you'll need to hold the tissue together. It is possible to cut through bones, but it is more difficult. Most slashes will be rather shallow and are unlikely to reach internal organs. It doesn't do well against plate armor or chainmail. Lastly, we have piercing, and this can be the most deadly. This comes from thrusting attacks like spears and arrows. Their impact is less dangerous on arms and legs unless you strike a critical artery. The femoral artery, for example, is about the size of a garden hose. But a strike on the chest can easily get the heart and lungs. If not, a blow to the gut runs a high risk of infection. This will cause a great deal of bleeding and hemorrhaging. Healing will require pulling the tissue together again, but at a greater depth. Plate armor is going to be an issue. Adam smiled at his new powers. Very effective, and perfect for his work. With the bandits gone, he sat down to begin his experiments. He had to bring her back. It was possible. Difficult, but possible, he knew. How the different types of elemental attacks work can get complicated when you start looking at them. And each would have profound impacts in battle, and how they are healed. Thank you for watching, adventurers. And next time, we'll do Yggdrasil and the 9 realms. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.